Hello and welcome to our video on escaping the cycle of over-reliance on others' opinions. Have you ever found yourself seeking constant validation from others? Do you ever feel like your sense of self-worth is tied to the opinions of those around you? If so, you're not alone. In today's world, it's easy to become overly reliant on external validation. With the rise of social media and the pressure to fit in and conform, it can be tempting to seek approval from others in order to feel accepted and validated. I know I've certainly struggled with this issue in the past. I used to find myself constantly seeking validation from others, whether it was through the clothes I wore, the way I spoke, or the things I posted on social media. But the more I relied on the opinions of others, the more I felt like I was losing touch with my own sense of self. That's why I'm so passionate about this topic. I believe that breaking out of the cycle of over-reliance on others' opinions is crucial for our personal growth and development. It's only when we learn to validate ourselves and trust our own judgment that we can truly reach our full potential. So, in this video, we're going to explore why we become overly reliant on external validation, the negative consequences of this behavior, and most importantly, how to break out of the cycle and start relying more on our own instincts and opinions. Understanding the root of the problem. So, why do we become so reliant on others' opinions? The answer is not always straightforward, as there are many factors that can contribute to this behavior. However, by exploring some of the root causes, we can begin to gain a better understanding of the problem and start to work towards solutions. One major factor that contributes to over-reliance on others' opinions is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough. These fears can drive us to constantly seek validation from others, as we believe that their approval will protect us from these negative outcomes. Another factor is a lack of self-confidence. When we don't trust ourselves or our own instincts, it can be tempting to turn to others for guidance and reassurance. We may feel like we don't have the skills or knowledge to make decisions on our own, or that our opinions don't matter as much as those of others. Additionally, societal pressure can play a role in this issue. We live in a world where conformity is often valued over individuality. We may feel like we need to fit in and follow the crowd in order to be accepted and valued. This can lead to a situation where we are constantly seeking the approval of others in order to feel like we belong. So, as you can see, there are many factors that can contribute to over-reliance on others' opinions. But the good news is that by understanding these root causes, we can start to address them and work towards breaking out of this cycle. The negative consequences of over-reliance on others' opinions. So, we've talked about some of the root causes of over-reliance on others' opinions. But what are the negative consequences of this behavior? Let's take a closer look. Firstly, relying too heavily on external validation can lead to a lack of self-awareness. When we constantly seek approval from others, we may lose touch with our own feelings, desires, and beliefs. This can lead to a situation where we are living our lives according to the expectations of others rather than our own values. Another consequence is that it can lead to a lack of self-confidence. When we don't trust ourselves or our own judgment, we may feel like we don't have the skills or knowledge to make decisions on our own. This can hold us back from taking risks or pursuing our goals. Thirdly, over-reliance on others' opinions can lead to anxiety and stress. When we base our sense of self-worth on the opinions of others, we are constantly at the mercy of their feedback. This can lead to a situation where we are always worried about what others think and may even avoid certain situations or opportunities out of fear of judgment. Finally, over-reliance on others' opinions can limit our personal growth and development. When we rely too heavily on external validation, we may be less likely to take risks or try new things. This can prevent us from discovering our true potential and living our lives to the fullest. So, as you can see, there are many negative consequences to over-reliance on others' opinions. But the good news is that it's possible to break out of the cycle and start relying more on our own instincts and opinions. Strategies for breaking out of the cycle. So we've talked about the root causes of over-reliance on others' opinions and the negative consequences that can result. Now, let's explore some strategies for breaking out of the cycle and learning to rely more on our own instincts and opinions. The first strategy is to develop greater self-awareness. This involves taking the time to reflect on our own thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. By getting in touch with our own inner voice, we can begin to differentiate our own opinions from those of others. Another strategy is to cultivate self-compassion. It's important to remember that we all have insecurities and doubts, and that it's okay to make mistakes or take risks. By being kind to ourselves and recognizing our own worth, we can begin to rely more on our own opinions and less on external validation. Thirdly, it can be helpful to seek out diverse perspectives. While it's important to trust our own instincts, it's also valuable to consider the opinions of others. By seeking out diverse perspectives, we can gain a more nuanced understanding of different viewpoints and make more informed decisions. Fourthly, it can be useful to set goals for ourselves. By setting clear goals and working towards them, we can develop greater confidence in our own abilities and judgment. This can help us to break out of the cycle of over-reliance on others' opinions and take control of our own lives. Finally, it's important to remember that breaking out of this cycle is a process, not an overnight fix. It takes time and effort to develop greater self-awareness, cultivate self-compassion, seek out diverse perspectives, set goals, and rely more on our own instincts and opinions. But with practice and persistence, it is possible to escape the cycle of over-reliance on others' opinions and live a more authentic and fulfilling life. Conclusion. And that brings us to the end of our discussion on escaping the cycle of over-reliance on others' opinions. Let's take a moment to recap what we've covered. We started by looking at the root causes of over-reliance on others' opinions, including societal pressures and a lack of self-awareness. We then explored the negative consequences that can result from this cycle, including a loss of authenticity and a sense of disconnection from ourselves. But we didn't stop there. We also offered some strategies for breaking out of the cycle, including developing greater self-awareness, cultivating self-compassion, seeking out diverse perspectives, setting goals, and relying more on our own instincts and opinions. So, what's the takeaway from all of this? Simply put, it's that we all have the power to take control of our own lives and make decisions that reflect our own values and beliefs. By breaking out of the cycle of over-reliance on others' opinions, we can live more authentic and fulfilling lives. Of course, this is easier said than done. It takes time and effort to develop the skills and habits that allow us to rely more on our own instincts and opinions. But it's a journey that's worth taking, and one that can lead to greater self-awareness, self-compassion, and personal growth. So, I hope this video has been helpful in offering some insights and strategies for breaking out of the cycle of over-reliance on others' opinions. Remember, you have the power to take control of your own life and make decisions that reflect your own values and beliefs. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.